Says live
Right now.
streaming isn't available, but there you go. I think you're on.
Live
An error
streaming.
occurred.
Oh, that might be why.
Here we are.
Are we here? Are we there?
We're in.
Whoa.
We're in, everybody. Great job, Kathy.
Well,
Good job. Thank you, Kathy. Good evening. Welcome to the Wednesday, July 1st, 2020 Warwick School Committee special virtual meeting. Pursuant to Executive Order number 20-05 issued by the Governor of the State of Rhode Island, this meeting will be conducted by electronic communication only. Members of the public wishing to access this meeting may do so at https://YOUTU:/OVTX8RTXB4. This time I call the meeting to order. Nathan, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
The
United
flag
States of
of
America,
the United States of America,
for which
the
it
and the
stands,
republic for which it stands,
God,
one nation,
indivisible,
under
with
God,
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you,
Second take
Nathan.
at that.
Well done. At this time, we go to public comment. Ms. Bonang, is there any public comment?
I do not have any, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Hennius, do you have any?
I did not receive anything. Nope.
That being so, we will move to item C, new business. Number 1, discussion action, accept resignation of Director of Technology. Superintendent or
Madam Chair,
Gary?
as you know, your packets, you do have the letter from our tech director, Mr. Alexander. So obviously, sorry to see him go, but he has put his letter in effective July 8th. So I would need an action from the committee to accept the letter of resignation.
I have a motion to accept, please.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 5-0. Good luck to Mr. Alexander in his new venture. 2, discussion action, filling of the vacant Director of Technology position and/or restructuring the Department of Technology.
Madam Chair, with the departure, I want to have the committee have the ability to have a conversation on, what the current leadership structure looks like, and are you supportive of us going back out in that same vein, or are there other things on your mind regarding tech leadership? So I want you to have a chance to have that conversation.
Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to speak to this?
Madam Chair, if I
Anyone
may,
that- Certainly, Mr. Test.
thank you. I would support going back out to fill the position. I did a quick search on other districts, and it's very, very common to have a director of technology. Cranston has, they call it different names. Cranston has an executive director of student information systems, student information services and data management. Pawtucket, West Warwick have directors of technology. Cumberland has director of information technology. I think in a district this size, I think you need a person in charge of that, especially what we're trying to accomplish for reopening and how this whole classroom experience is going to work with undoubtedly having students in school and out of school at the same time, how we're going to deliver lessons. We really need to have, I think, a director in that position who really knows their stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. Is there anyone else?
I'll speak.
Thank you, Ms. Cobden.
I don't disagree with David. I also think that maybe we should talk to our current staff and see if there's anybody in there that can fit the bill or rearrange it. I know we get many compliments and we've been very successful by the rest of our staff. And I think that's something to look at.
Thank you,
I'm
Ms.
not
Cobden.
against posting it, but I really do think we should look from within at first too.
Thank you, Ms. Cobden. We should always look inside first. Nathan, did you raise your hand?
No, but I do agree that we should look in-house for this position. I think we could find a good person in-house who's maybe working for a school district for a while. I think that's a good idea.
Kyle?
Yeah. So obviously I'm all for it. Keep having at least someone in charge of technology. Whether it be breaking it out and having different responsibilities upon different individuals or having someone who knows their stuff in charge. Obviously, we're in a situation where technology is a very, very big aspect. And considering how much of a driver it is in Warwick, the idea of breaking it up into multiple positions, two at the most, I would say, would not be bad, I would think, especially because of just what is involved. Because now you have to think about everything that is being considered, whether it be the phones, the Chromebooks, the software, the Promethean boards, the servers, the security cameras, everything is involved there. So I'm full on board.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant
Madam Chair, I'd like to
Superintendent?
comment later if I don't know if you have anything to add or whatever.
I was gonna, I think Ms. Danbrook may have something to say.
So I also agree that we need to post it as a director of technology. That's a very important department with many parts, moving parts. So I'm also in favor for posting a director of technology.
Thank you. Mr. Testa?
Thank you. Madam Chair, Mr. Adams, to your point about splitting it into two, maybe looking at hardware, software, my only issue with that is at the end of the more you split it, the more you spread out the responsibility, and then fewer people are actually in charge.
All right. So,
you know,
now
I try to figure it out. Okay, this person's hardware, this person's software. Invariably, they may come to a point where they'll have a disagreement. Then who's the person who decides that? And if it has to report up to the superintendent or Ms. Danbrook. With all due respect, I think they're very capable administrators, but they're not technology administrators.
all right. Well,
you know what I mean?
Something to consider as well, Mr. Testa, is that you might have someone that's really good with hardware who's not as good with software, and you might have someone who's really good with software who's not as good with hardware.
Mhm.
So you now have to consider that there's an opportunity cost. Someone who's really good with software who might not be as great with hardware, or someone who's really good with hardware who's not not as adept in software. So we could find someone who's like real A tier and right on the money, but we could also not.
No, I understand, but I think how you create the org structure is critical here. So, the job description as it is, I have no problem searching from within, but searching from within under the auspices of what the job description says. The job description calls for a bachelor's and a master's in the related field, and then an administrative certificate requirement. So I have no problem with that. I read the job description. I like it. I like it a lot, actually, with the way it's structured. So again, I'll agree with Ms. Damrock. I think we need a director in that position. There's one person at where the buck stops when it comes to technology. That person can assemble a team below them if they want to have, you may have a director who's a software geek, not necessarily a hardware geek, but the team he assembles, he could have that talent to pick from. So, or vice versa. So
Yeah.
I think it gets messy when an organization this size tries to kind of take a technology director's position and split it. I think it gets clumsy, and I don't think we can afford that. So I would just go back to saying I think we should fill the position as a director of technology.
Madam Chair.
Be an outlier here.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Also, keep in mind for your thinking, everyone, we also, months previously lost our network manager. So we're actually down 2. We currently, and Tony can elaborate, we have a vendor assisting us with that, but we're actually down 2 people from last year.
I think, having looked at this from a number of different angles over the past few days, and considering the whole bifurcation of the position into 2, I think it should be one person who is in charge, so that they are responsible, so that nobody wiggles around. That said, I have no problem with looking on the inside, and I would fully expect the new director to work with his team that's mostly assembled at this point, and determine who does what best, and to make decisions about who is going to be on software or hardware or the various things that we need.
Madam Chair, it sounds like with your blessing, I could be posting, I hear most of you saying a director. I would post it internally and externally.
I think that's a fine decision. We can make a motion, and we'll see what the committee thinks. I'd make a motion that the superintendent post internally and externally for a new director of technology for Warwick Public Schools as soon as possible, and that we expedite this matter and try to hire someone no later than, or bring somebody forward for hiring no later than the 14th of July, sooner if at all possible.
Madam Chair, for that, if I could talk to our HR person, so, Mr. Jerry, if we post this tomorrow for 2 weeks, what's our timeline look like?
We don't have to post for 2 weeks. We can expedite this. We can post it for a week, according to legal counsel.
That is true.
I already asked the question.
If we post tomorrow, we have the holiday on Monday, so that would end it on the 10th. We could potentially interview on the 13th, and if you have a candidate to go forward on the 14th. It is a tight timeline.
I'd be concerned that we'd be constricted by a timeline, because we're also in the time of year where people take vacations. So,
Well, we can try for it.
Well, Madam Chair, may I add, if we have a candidate and we have a special meeting on the 15th or 16th, we could certainly do that, right?
Certainly. If we don't have somebody for the 14th, then
Question.
it wouldn't take too long.
Also,
Mr. Adams?
in terms of to address Mr. Testa and how people are on vacations, are you doing interviews in person? Or are you doing them over Zoom?
I think right now that we're in level 3 or phase 3, we can check with the governor's office. I believe it'd be okay to be in person in the Gorton Library, spread out socially distanced, and we can double check that to be sure, but I think we're good with a small search committee and a candidate in a large space, socially distant.
All right.
We would certainly confirm that first, though, with the governor.
Well, could you also accommodate and do a Zoom interview if need be?
That's what I'm thinking.
I think we could, but I think also, as you know, you lose something in Zoom. Then face-to-face, it's a pretty important job. If I could get permission from the state to do an in-person interview, I think I'd rather have our team see the person, just because, but I don't know what the answer will be on that. We can certainly let you know what the state says about that.
Okay. And just one other question. When you post for a job, do you post internally first before you put or at the same time as? Okay.
Historically, it'd be same time on School Spring, but also internally, but that's what we would typically do.
Okay. I received the impression that you went one over the other. We also lost Nathan. Also, I'd just like to make it clear, I'm not against the director of technology. I was throwing out ideas.
So, Madam Chair, I lost track. Was there a motion there, or?
There is a motion.
Yeah, I seconded it.
Okay,
We
I'm
just
just trying to see if Nathan return.
Does Nathan live near anybody you can run over, jump into our screen?
No.
Are you
Well, I
volunteering,
have a
Dave?
motion, I have a motion on the table that says the superintendent can post the internally and externally for the new director of technology as soon as possible. And that the position would be interviewed no later than July 14th.
You probably add in there a 1-week posting is what I heard.
It was no need for 2 weeks posting, yes.
Could we post for 5 days?
Exactly.
I mean, I looked at your policies. There's no set timeline on posting. I think you just have to post it, probably talk to human resources and Phil and see what's a viable time period for them to get it up, and then an adequate response time. I don't have an answer for that.
So let me run this by you. Could we post tomorrow, which would give us Thursday, Friday, business day, and then Monday is a holiday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, close it out Thursday at 4 p.m. And then if we have some good candidates, we call them in for an interview.
Yes,
We can do
could
that.
Do that. But if there are no viable candidates, we could then repost again for another 5
We
days.
could repost, exactly. How does everybody feel about that? Anybody have a problem with it?
Personally, I prefer a longer timeline, but I understand why.
Thank you, Dave. Mr. Testa. Okay, I guess we've lost Nathan. There's a motion on the table. It's been discussed.
It's been seconded.
It's been seconded. Call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Is that all aye? Any nays?
I have four.
Four.
Just Nathan,
Five.
right?
Oh, no, yeah, four.
Four. I only have four.
Yep, there's only 4 of us. So, motion passes. It can be posted first thing tomorrow, internally and externally.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Future meetings, item D. The next meeting of the school committee is our monthly meeting, and that will take place on Tuesday, July 14th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Executive session at 6. There being no further business before this committee, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We're adjourned. Have a wonderful 4th of July.
Thank you. You too.
I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Same to
Good
you all.
night.
Happy 4th.
Happy 4th, Joel. Anthony, I need to speak to you.